Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Better Events Podcast. This is Mary Davidson, one of your co hosts. And in today's episode, we are talking all about a lot of things, actually. So, we do kind of these off the cuff episodes once in a while where we have a lot of random thoughts that we share and we go through questions and scenarios and thoughts that you all have sent to us over time. And so that's what this episode is. We talk about everything from contracts to RFPs to money and referrals and all of those wonderful things that have to do with events and business. So let's go ahead and get into the episode.
Welcome to the Better Events Podcast. Join two event strategists, Logan Clements and Mary Davidson, who believe we can all create, host, and attend better events. In this podcast, you will learn about event strategy and actions that you can use today as an event host, planner, or manager. Hear directly from the people who are creating innovative and inspiring events today and tomorrow, and grow your business along the way. Now, let's get started, and thanks for listening to the Better Events Podcast.
Hi, friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Events Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Logan Clements, and I'm joined by fellow co-host Mary Davidson. And in this week's episode, before we jump into the topic, we are going to do our conversation starters. So, Mary, the calendar has officially turned to September. I have to ask, do you embrace the pumpkin spice season or avoid it completely?
Well, I'm not ready for this question. My brain is not in fall. Does not look like fall yet. So, do I embrace pumpkin spice season? I embrace it. Like I start seeing, the reels and the things on Instagram a long time ago, and you go to the store and the decorations are already out. So, I mean, like I think I'm here for it. I don't avoid it, but I'm not ready yet. Give me a month. September feels too soon. What about you?
I would be the same. I think I love a pumpkin spice season, but it is still warm. I'm coming off my US Open in New York, which is always just hotter even than the Pacific Northwest, that it still feels like summer and I'm still holding on to the idea of summer. And if I have something pumpkin spice, I want it to be chillier out. So I think end of September and October, you can definitely catch me having some pumpkin spice things. I think my hack for any listeners out there who don't think the pumpkin spice stuff is too sweet, like in drinks, I did have a barista once tell me you can ask for less pumps and that makes it less sweet. And I've gotten those from Starbucks and or Seattle. We have some great coffee shops where some make their own homemade like pumpkin puree and that's what they mix into your drink. And that is delicious. But I do love a fall festive.
What is the Powerpuff Girls? It's like, is it like pumpkin spice and everything nice? That's not what it is. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. It's sugar and spice and everything.
Sugar and
nice.
spice. It could be pumpkin spice.
It could be honestly, Mary, you could have said that with like a witch's hat on because I feel like, yes, anyone who loves pumpkin spice would totally embrace that pumpkin spice and everything nice. It's definitely on some merch somewhere.
Yeah, put it on a t-shirt. All right, let's get into our episode shortly. But before we do, we want to plug our 2025 Better Events Conference. You know it. You've heard of it. It's coming. We want you to be there. So on Wednesday, October 1st, that is our virtual day. And Thursday, December 18th, that is our in-person day. You can check out bettereventspod.com for tickets, and we would love to see you there. So now, why we chose this topic, we love doing episodes like this. So this is kind of a mishmash of all the things. We've compiled questions, thoughts, and scenarios over time, and this is that episode. We are just going to hit them. It's going to be a little bit all over the place, but you're going to learn a lot of tips and tricks. So stick with us for sure. So we'll just get into it, Logan. And our first question, we're going to take you all on a random journey today. Our first question is, Logan, does money really buy you happiness? Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, we're starting out with a really easy question. Mary, we talked about fall. Now let's get philosophical. This is a question I can't remember which one of us put on the list, but I definitely have been thinking about this because does money really buy you happiness? I don't know, to be honest. I think money is a tool and it is a great tool that can help you get things. But I was recently reflecting on a book I was reading that was about just restructuring your business and just trying to get some time freedom back. And I just had this realization, like back when I first started my business, my first or second year, and acknowledging listeners, hindsight is always rose-colored glasses, where I was like, I might have been a little happier and I made way less money. But because I remember I did a whole thing where I talked about how I've tracked my time and it was revolutionary, where I was like, wow, I can make what I was making before, but I'm only working 20 hours a week. that's so great. I have more time. I was seeing friends. I was just doing more. I had more just free time. And while it made bills and going on trips stressful, because I truly was being like, this is all the money I have that I'm able to spend. There was a moment where I was like, oh, I definitely like life was a little simpler. So I think this is me just trying to figure out, like, as someone who can control their income by how many gigs I take on and how much work I do, I think I'm just grappling between the more money or the more time and trying to figure out the balance of the two. Does that make sense, Mary?
It makes sense. Yeah, because what I was thinking is that like money could perhaps provide you a certain level of freedom, so similar to what you're saying with the time. And if that's your goal in life, many people have that goal, but like not everybody does too at the same time. Like they're content with where they're at. But if you want more freedom, whatever that looks like to you, then it probably does require some money. I don't know. So does it buy happiness? I mean, I think it can, but I also think that you can find happiness in like whatever scenario you're in. Like if you don't, like if you haven't had it, then you don't really know maybe what you're missing. But then if you've had it and then something happens and you're like, oh wow, I had it good and I didn't know it, like all of that type of stuff. So I think you can find happiness where you're at. I certainly think money is a tool, like you said, and it does help. I mean, I like a vacation, not gonna lie.
And more money could mean more vacations. I think, yeah, I also just have some folks in my other like 1 or 2 degrees separated from me that I know are making really big money, but they have no time. Like it is, and it is a conscious thing that they are doing, and they are just going to bankroll a lot of money for the next couple of years, and I'll set them up, and that's great. And I just like, it's been very fascinating to noodle with that myself, because I'm like, oh, would I do that? And it's like, I don't.
It's like the concept of YOLO too, a little bit, right? Because
Yeah,
it's like other generations as well, like than us. Like we're millennials, right? And we know that a lot of people, like maybe our parents, have worked the same job for years and years and just like worked for retirement. Where I'm like, I'm gonna live my life now. You never know what tomorrow's gonna bring, and sometimes that has financial repercussions as well.
yeah, and that like long term planning and kind of, yeah, do you save your dollars or spend them today, or I feel like I'm trying to do a little bit of both, but I think it's a, yeah, there's no right answer. I just think listeners like reflecting on that and just being aware of like, yeah, where your time's going, where your money's going, what things are actually worth it. Because, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a linear path between money and happiness. We now need to jump in to tell you about the Better Events Conference. Yes, we are hosting the Better Events Conference for our 3rd year in a row this year, and we are hosting a virtual day on October 1st and an in-person day on December 18th. We have different ticket types available if you're only able to join us virtually on the 1st, or if you would like to join us both days on the 1st and the 18th here in Seattle. Here is a couple more details about our conference.
On Wednesday, October 1st, this is the virtual day. We'll be ditching the PowerPoint and lectures as much as possible and instead focusing on conversation starters, interactive workshops, group consulting, and more. Some of these will be recording, some of these you have to be virtually in the room to experiencing them. On Thursday, December 18th, this is our in-person workshop day. This is where we feature interactive workshops and small group work. You will leave with things like a new system, a new goal, or a new perspective on your event career. We will be gathering, like we said before, at a secret location in downtown Seattle. So it's going to be really fun. More to come on that.
Now you might be saying, Logan and Mary, how do I buy a ticket? So go to bettereventspod.com/conference in the show notes if you want to learn more. We will also put the direct registration link on SwapCard. Tickets range anywhere from $55 to $169. $55, that lower price point, is going to be for the virtual day only on October 1st, and access on that day only. So you need to be there live, get all your information, and then you don't get access to the platform afterward. All the way up to $169, which is going to be our highest price point for the all access ticket. That means you're coming to our virtual day October 1st. You get access to replays. You can rewatch things, keep downloading content all over the months, and then come to our in-person day here in Seattle, December 18th. And without further ado, let's get back to the episode. Another question that we have talking about worth, this is more related to doing events and getting new events. Are formal RFPs, requests for proposals, are formal RFPs really worth it? What do you think, Mary?
Like submitting them? Submitting them.
The whole process, submitting to an RFP, the potential that you might win that business, is that whole process worth it?
I think it's worth it if you win the business, right? That's the whole gamble with the RFP, because it takes you so much freaking time. Even if you have done them before and you have, past things that you can pull from. Like Admittedly, I don't submit an RFP every week. Maybe I submit one like every month, but none of them are the same. They might have similar components, but I still got to like reword things a little bit, make it applicable. So it still takes time. So are they worth it? I think, yeah, like I said, if you win the business. At the beginning, though, if you haven't done an RFP before and it feels intimidating, I would encourage you to try to apply to them because once you do have these drafts of ones you've done before, even if you haven't won the business, then yeah, you're really gonna, it's just gonna help you in the future. So I would say try it. Don't like avoid them. It is a way to get really big business if that's a goal that you have. But then also, if you are someone who is internal and you are putting out an RFP, like you have the decision making ability on who you're hiring, I think those are definitely worth it for them because people are putting in more effort to respond. And it's like that interview, that classic, hiring process. If people show interest, that already weeds a lot of other people out, which is a great way to do it, I think. So I do think they're worth it. I think it's a thing. But sometimes I'm like, do you really need all of that in the RFP? Like, can we just have a conversation? But a lot of times they do it, I think, also to make things a little bit less biased. So, yeah. What about you, Logan? Are formal
Yeah.
RFPs worth it?
I mean, to me, I would say no, but that's just based on the structure of my event, of my business. So go back if you don't know what an RFP is or you're interested in learning more, go back and listen to our episode 6 with Vanessa Loney back at the OG start of the pod. She talks a lot about RFPs, and she is an example, I'd say, of a version of me of being a single member company that hires contractors and going after RFPs to help continue to make more money with necessarily having to serve more clients, which is a great thing to do. I mean, yeah, I love being, as you mentioned, Mary, the receiving end. So I've been trying to coach clients on the AV side that we should have an RFP, maybe not a super formal 20 pager, but like even a 1 page or a 2 page, just something that gets all the details of what you're looking for, because that helps set your AV company up for success of quoting you what you need and what you don't, and not including anything you don't. But also it gives you a jumping off point of making sure all the details of like when they can get in the venue, all these things that could have big budget impacts later if they're a surprise. It's just a good exercise to go through. But personally, I would say I'm not going through that process. I know I've been a part of other people's RFPs, meaning they've like listed me as a potential team member contractor. And I will say, Mary, that the success rate has not been great on the ones I've been listed on. So I think that's more my impression is I have not had to personally do an RFP in a very long time, like submitting one. And more frequently now I'm helping clients craft their own short version of an RFP for getting a production or an AV quote.
Yeah, a couple other thoughts too. I feel like it is challenging to sell yourself in an RFP sometimes because you're following their structure versus like when you submit your own proposal, you have a system that is like you present yourself in a certain way. And so there are, I guess, that's just a comment. There are some nuances there for sure. But then for another example, like there was an RFP that I found just in my inbox. It was part of a newsletter that someone would sent out, and it was local, but it was huge. It was like a huge RFP, and it took me many hours to submit for it because it was just really intense. It was the most intense thing I've ever submitted for. Like the budget was like over $500,000, which is like I don't normally deal with budgets that big. Like it was huge. And I knew that if I got it, I would have to hire like 2 people full time. Like it was like that big. But I didn't get it. And I still believe that it was worth the time to fill it out because if I had gotten it, it would have like jumped me towards my goals like 2 years faster than I was trying to get there. Like it would have been insane. So I don't know, just an example.
No, that's a good point. I guess an RFP would be helpful. Yeah, if you're trying to kind of level up in certain ways, it can be that give you the opportunity in a way that a lot of time what we talk about, it's a lot of referral based and like recommendation, word of mouth, that an RFP process is a little more open. So you can definitely get into it. But yes, I would say just the caveat, you never know what you're going to get when you're submitting. But yeah, it's worth doing it at least once or twice to see if it's an avenue for you.
All right, Logan, our next question. How do we do better at referrals? So, for example, like asking someone for a referral and then also referring others.
Another what feels like philosophical question because I don't think I can give an answer or like a for sure answer. This is just like, I want to do better. I feel like we can all do better at referring. My struggle has been right now because I don't have employees and I am getting busier and more booked. That is, if I can't do the gig, I want to be able to refer somebody else to it. And the part I'm struggling with is I don't feel like there's a lot of folks doing exactly what I'm doing. There are people who do similar and sometimes can fill some gaps, but like I don't have another slightly different version of me to for sure
Logan
be
is
like this person.
unique, everybody. Hire her
Thanks,
while you
Mary.
can.
Thanks, Mary. I appreciate the plug, but I've like fallen in this really weird niche, like that
Yeah.
I don't have as many people. And then I also know there are people I'm just not thinking of. And I think we've talked about it, Mary, of wanting to have like a database of all these people we meet through the podcast and the community and book club and all these other things that we do. And I feel like a broken record saying we're all forgettable. Even I am forgettable. People will forget me when they're trying to think of someone can help them. But I just wish there was an easier way than the manual process of having to like comb through my emails, make a spreadsheet that I do think I'm sure would get out of date quickly as people's interests change. Like, I just wish there was a better way to do that.
I agree. I also don't have a firm solution. I have the same hopes that you do. And you've mentioned it before too, like the it helps when people keep reaching out to us because then they are top of mind. So when that need comes up, we're like, oh, so and so, yeah, they just reached out because for some reason, like our minds go blank when someone asks, "Who do you know that does this?" I'm like, I know somebody, but I can't think of anybody. Like, yeah, it's crazy how that happens. So I completely agree. One of the things that I've been really self-conscious of lately is the people that have referred me business. I feel like I'm not good at tracking where the business is coming from because I'll ask people how did you hear about us, or they'll email me and they'll say so and so referred me to you, and I have been bad at tracking that, and I want to because I want to thank these people even if I don't get the business. Just like thank you for sending all these referrals my way. That's so nice of you, and figuring out where most of these are coming from and all of that. And anyway, it's on my list. I haven't done it, but I aspire to do it to thank people for referrals as well. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
ask for them. I should, but I
I
don't.
do that process as part of my end of year reflection when I make my lovely spreadsheet, which I just had the idea. I'm like, I probably should monetize this spreadsheet some way. Cause again, it's not rocket science what I'm doing, but I know other people like me could benefit from just how I've laid things out. And how I'm looking at opportunities. But yes, to your point, Mary, one of the columns I have is referred by, and I then do my best to go back in emails, or if I can't remember, track down that information. Cause I've been trying to be better that like if someone refers me, I don't do a referral fee or anything where I'm like paying someone to recommend me, but I've tried to do a handwritten thank you note and or a Starbucks gift card or just something that's like, hey, thank you so much. And like, I got booked. And if anything, it's more just telling them like, hey, I got the gig in case they didn't know it, and thanking them for that. But I do want to think of a more consistent way to do that. Cause I feel like, again, end of the year is natural for me, but coming up for air and be like, oh yeah, hi, thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing I thought of too that once again, this is all aspirational, so maybe I'll actually do it after this episode. On my website, resources tab, and then there's like a partners section. And what I aspire to do for that is to list people who I do want to refer. And to me, that's a way I can give back because I'm really conscious of if it's feeling mutually beneficial. Like I want to make sure that if someone sends me business, I can send them business. And so one way to do that, I think, is just to help with advertising their services. And so I need to build out that page way more. I've been meaning to do it.
That's a great way. That's a great way to think about it too. I think I want to be better too. I don't know if for what I do if a web page works, but I will say a small thing I've been doing, and it's in my post event checklist now, is after I work with people, I do one of my tasks is to go through and add them on LinkedIn, because I will say my two databases that I search through when I get asked about, oh, do you know someone who does this, is I will search my email. And so that's why I say anyone who connects with me, I'm like, after we talk, I'm like, can you send me an email with a couple sentences about what you do, where you're located? Like, because then it makes you searchable in my email if I get a lead that fits. And then on LinkedIn would be my other place. Again, searching keywords or location or whatever it is. Because I'll be like, oh, I forgot that, this awesome stage manager I just worked with, 6 months ago actually lives now in Nashville, and I can recommend them for that Nashville gig. Like, that is a natural place that stays updated.
I love that thought about LinkedIn and searching by location. I do that all the time. That's probably where I go first when my mind blanks out. I'm like, who is in San Francisco, and go look or whatever. And the thing is too, listeners, you should connect with us on LinkedIn, because I've had people who've asked before, who do you know in this area? And I'll look, and you're connected with people on LinkedIn that you don't know directly all the time, but I'll see that they're like a freelance event professional located wherever. And I'm like, well, this person, I'm connected to this person. You could reach out to them. I don't know them. I haven't worked with them, but like there is somebody that exists in that area. And so I've passed on those like referrals, if you will, but I don't know them. So they're like very light referrals. It's just like to get somebody in the door in some location. So yeah. All right, Logan. So our next question is a listener question. They say, I got booked via email for a gig and got asked to send a W-9, but no formal contract or agreement. Is that normal? Should I push for a contract? What would you say?
It's a great question. It's very relatable. I will say, listener, that I have had to do this before, and definitely in my earlier stages, I would have accepted a gig like that and just started working. But nowadays, I have to have a contract. And if it's not a contract, it needs to be like a scope of work, something signable. Some agencies I work with, like I have a annual contract I sign with them, and then them sending me an individual event, I will just do a written scope of work. I've just found even copying and pasting what's in the email and putting it in a Word doc and saying, hey, can you sign this? And I'll sign this, just helps formalize it. Because yeah, unfortunately, I want to say sometimes that can be normal. I think some people operate very informally. I can't think of names, but Mary, I feel like we do know people who operate this way for gigs and things, or even via text of like, hey, you're free. Cool. I'll pay you a couple $100. Great. See you on Saturday or whatever. And that's as formal as it gets. But I've become more risk averse, and I just think you really need that agreement. But Mary, what would you add to that?
I totally agree. Yeah, with like colleagues or friends, like Logan, if you were like, "Can you do this event?" I would say yes, like whatever. I don't need a contract, but I know you do a contract anyway, and I really appreciate that. So there are some people where maybe I'm like, they're good for it. I know they're good for it, but best practice, push for it because it is standard business. It's not like absurd for you to want to ask that of them. It's a pretty normal expectation. And even if it is something simple, kind of like what Logan was saying, like when we book contractors, we'll create a scope of work and just have them sign the bottom. It's not necessarily crazy official, but it's something. It's something tangible that you can go back to. And this is double important because this year was the first year that we had an event that postponed and then they ghosted us. And so I had to cancel the contract. I tried to get a hold of them for months and I couldn't get a hold of them. So I canceled the contract, and the only thing that protected me in that instance, not I didn't have to return their money, was because of our contract. So I would encourage it. Just cover yourself so you don't have to learn a hard lesson.
Yeah, and I think again, you're not alone in it. But this goes to the larger question, Mary, which I can't remember why we were jotted this down, but just talking about contracts in general of like, when do you need them? Because again, I think at the end of the day, the legal people will say always, you always need a contract. But to your example that you just gave, not all the time, maybe.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, when do you really not, like time after time, not need a contract? Can you think of an instance?
I mean, I don't think I do any work right now without something signed. I think I do a lot of like pre-work in the sense that like I'll hold dates without having a contract.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah,
But
like
then
soft holds.
but like at the end of the day, it's really like, it's in my mind, it's not real till you have a contract, it's signed. And even I take it sometimes a step further of a deposit getting paid. I currently have a little bit of a bone to pick with one of my clients that I've already worked the event. The event was a while ago and I still haven't received my deposit payment.
Oh my
Nor
God.
the final payment. But it's just one where I was like, I don't think we're understanding the concept of deposit. Because later I chased them for it. They were like, oh no, we pay net 30 or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but the whole reason I do deposits is because I can't go and unwork your event. It's just really weird to have like done an event and I've done all of the work on my end and I've seen $0 for it.
Yeah, that would make me feel sketchy. And that's happened to me before too, the same situation where it's kind of like chasing payments for that and it's annoying.
Yeah. And it's annoying with someone you work with, right? Like I know this person, I trust them. They're good for it. It's just, it's part of a larger organization that like, it's just slow, but I'm like, I can't tell my landlord that I'm just going to pay them later.
Yeah, that's annoying. And if you think of other parts of events as well, they have contracts too. Your vendors have contracts for you to lock them in. Right? I can't think of an instance again when they don't, unless you just once again know them really well and they're good for it. But even then, I don't like that at all. Your venue should definitely have a contract. Like that's just how it works.
And it just protects everybody. Like to your point, Mary, of yours of having a client kind of ghost you after postponing, like having a contract of some form. It protects you from the worst case scenarios. you ideally never really need to institute it. But I even have the most basic like contractor agreement, which is I created that based on what I wanted to receive when I'm a contractor. Like I think it's unusual in my contractor agreement, I even put out late terms that apply to me. Like it's my agreement, but I will say, hey, Mary, if you invoice, we've agreed to these payment terms. And if I miss it as your employer, I owe you money. And I wish more companies do that. And they don't. They put the onus on you, the contractor, to do that. But yeah, I guess you really do. I think things aren't real until you have something signed.
Yeah, no handshake agreements. I mean, I know that's a thing, but no, just no. All right. I think that brings us to the end of our episode of all of our random thoughts. So thank you for sticking along with us. And Logan, you have our bonus tip today.
I do. This bonus tip is to make sure you know when and where meals are getting provided for your on-site team. And this is larger than just your maybe direct team, but anybody you come into contact with. So especially if your crew involves multiple companies, vendors, or staff sources, like I'm thinking union crew versus an in-house crew. This is something that I had come up on site for an event for me where I had to on the fly adjust rehearsal times because I had two large groups and one got dinner at one point. The other didn't get dinner and was told they needed to go walk away, and trying to find a window where there were certain things we needed everyone for. It just led to some like on-site scrambling. And so just make sure you ask those questions, who it's provided for. If it's not provided for others, do they get a meal break? And just making sure all of that is factored into the amount of time you think you have. Because if not, you might be surprised when some folks get to go to lunch in the middle of your day.
Thank you, Logan. Great bonus tip and so true. I just experienced that at an event recently, so totally agree. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Better Events Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Better Events Pod. You can email us at bettereventspod@gmail.com. Join us for the 2025 Better Events Conference. Don't forget, it's coming up by visiting bettereventspod.com/conference. You can connect with Logan and I directly on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. And then also, if that's not enough, you can join our private paid community on Substack. And that brings us to the end. So thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will be back in your feeds again next Wednesday.